there, Michigan football fans. Wanted to give you guys a little bit of a different video today. Our main Chat Sports channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv, has awesome content on the NFL, college football, and the NBA. Whenever they're talking Michigan football, we're going to try and bring it over to you right here on this channel.
Hello friends and welcome into College Football Now. I am your host Tom Downey. On today's video, we're taking a look at some possible transfer destinations for JT Daniels. Now he's entered the transfer portal, although as we'll dive into, he still could return to USC. I'm sure many of you know Daniels is a former 5-star recruit, enrolled a year early, not like leaving the first half of or second half of his senior year. Skipped an entire season and year of high school to enroll early at USC. Started his first year, looked okay, and then got hurt this past year, and Kedon Slovis took over and I think retained that job more or less for USC after Daniels tore his ACL. So now he's kind of caught in an awkward spot. He's not quite a grad transfer yet. Maybe he could get that in a couple of weeks or months, or maybe it's next year, whatever it ends up being. Here's what Daniels said. I love this university coaching staff and team. To me, it is in my best interest to explore all my options going into the 2020 season. I will remain in contact with the coaching staff throughout the process. USC remains one of my options, and that door has remained open for me. Fight on. So clearly, Daniels could go back to USC. That is still maybe even the most likely option right now. We'll dive into why here in just a little bit. Now, for a young kid, Daniels has shown some promise. The problem for Daniels is that Slovis came in this past year for USC and was wildly impressive. And that's not even really a shot at Daniels. Slovis was the better quarterback. Their career stats, a season and a game for Daniels, and of course Slovis just the 1 year at USC. Across the board, Slovis was better. There really isn't an area in which you go, oh yeah, Daniels did this better than Slovis. He was just a better quarterback. Now, could Daniels compete for that starting job? Of course he could still. But I think Slovis is going to be the guy next year for USC. Now, where things get tricky is that Daniels isn't eligible right now. Now, the NCAA is going to vote on a one-time waiver transfer, at least they're supposed to, on May 20th. If that passes, Daniels can transfer anywhere immediately. It would allow players like Daniels to transfer one time without having to sit out a season, and they don't have to be a graduate transfer either. Now, the issue here is that the NCAA Board of Directors recommended no changes because, you know, the NCAA never really does this quite right, even though they're at least now allowing players to profit off of their likenesses in the future. So Daniels could transfer, could return to USC, and then maybe transfer next year if he ends up being eligible as a grad transfer. So let me know, at least for this year, for this upcoming season, will Daniels transfer from USC? Type Y for yes or type N for no. If you're typing in Y for yes, I think you'll like what's coming up next, our top Daniels transfer destinations. Leading things off at number 7, the Oklahoma Sooners. Don't blame me, guys. The rules are if you have a top-flight transfer quarterback, you must mention the Oklahoma Sooners, given that they've done it like several years in a row, and with impressive success as well, I might add. But this year might not make the most sense for Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler, a former 5-star recruit, is waiting in the wings. Would you rather have the 5-star recruit that hasn't been in your program or the 5-star recruit that has been in your program? It's the latter, right? You're going to go with the guy that you know and the guy that you've seen, assuming, of course, you still think he is your guy long-term. So Oklahoma, worth mentioning, but I think because of the presence of Rattler, he probably makes the most sense just to roll with him and let Daniels explore other options. Now, if you guys want more college football videos and coverage here at Chat Sports, I want you guys to like this video. Let the bosses know, you know what, we should do more college football stuff. You, the people, are demanding it. All you got to do, click like. It's that simple. Number 6, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Most of the teams will discuss Daniels could be an instant start, at least potentially, for that team. Notre Dame isn't really in the same boat because Ian Book, I think, is going to be the starter regardless of who they had as a transfer for this upcoming season, if they had anyone. There are question marks behind him, a couple 3-star kids. Tyler Buckner, though, 2021, a 5-star recruit, is committed, and this is the dangerous game that the coaches play. You bring in another former 5-star to transfer. If you're the 2021 recruit, do you still want to stick around? So it's a question worth discussing. Daniels considered Notre Dame in high school, so I wanted to include them as a possibility. Probably makes more sense, though, if he has to sit out a season in terms of a transfer destination. Now, pay attention because, A, the shirts you'll see here could be hints of what teams are coming up next. But I found a T-shirt sale that I figured you guys might like. Chatsports.com/CFB shirt. That's chatsports.com/CFB shirt. To 50% off all kinds of teams, Michigan, LSU, Tennessee, pretty much whatever your favorite college football team is, they have T-shirts on sale, and I'll make your life easier. I'll put that in the comments and the description of this video as well. But one more time, it's chatsports.com/CFB shirt. Number 5 on our list, the Florida State Seminoles. They could use a new quarterback. James Blackman's gotten a lot of chances and frankly hasn't been all that great. New head coach Mike Norvell comes in and actually gets quarterback recruits to sign with the program. Thank goodness, the first time they did that since 2017, which is crazy to think about, that they went multiple years not adding a quarterback recruit. That just blows my mind. Now, Blackman has shown some flashes. Yeah, he has. He also hasn't been that great. Was banged up a lot in 2018, didn't really play behind DeAndre Francois. I thought there was growth, especially in terms of accuracy from 2017 to 2019. I just don't think he's the guy. I'd rather bring in JT Daniels if I could pull that off if I was FSU. Number 4, the Washington Huskies. This particular destination has been mentioned a lot out there by others, and it does make some sense. Daniels, a West Coast kid, wouldn't be that far of a drastic move, for example, to go to like FSU instead, much closer to home. He considered Washington when he was coming out, but Chris Peterson's gone. It's a new coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the football, even though, Jimmy Lake, the DC, is the new head coach. Jacob Eason's gone, which makes sense. But the Huskies do have several options. The potential red flag here is that, they don't really have much experience. Jacob Sermon, I guess, is the front runner. Maybe it ends up being Dylan Morris. Elijah Garber's also is in the program too. All 3 of those guys actually are former 4-star recruits. And on top of that, 2021 5-star recruit Sam Heward, that is Brock's nephew, by the way, is also committed. They kind of got some options. Now, are any of them as good potentially as JT Daniels? I'm not sure, but Sermon entered the portal last year, chose to stick around. I would not be surprised if Morris ended up winning that job either, but I think the Huskies have enough options at quarterback that they can't rank any higher than number 4 for me on this list. Now, we still have my top 3 to get to, so I want to know from you. In the comments, just put it anywhere you want. Spam it if you need to. Where do you think JT Daniels will play for this upcoming season? Not 2022 or whatever, but this upcoming season. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. At number 3, the Michigan Wolverines on our list of top JT Daniels transfer destinations. Jim Harbaugh in the past has brought in quarterback transfers. O'Korn, that one didn't work out too well. Shea Patterson, a little bit better. Daniels did consider Michigan back in high school, but there is a brewing battle already between Joe Milton and Dylan McCaffrey at Michigan. So feel free to, of course, let me know which quarterback you think ends up winning that job in the comments too. I think the projection right now leans a little bit more towards Dylan McCaffrey, especially with a unusual, I'll call it, lead up to the season. But McCaffrey, Milton, whoever it ends up being, could end up being a nice starter for Michigan. Cade McNamara came in as well. They also brought in another recruit. And then 5-star J.J. McCarthy, 2021 recruit, he's also committed. So again, you're playing that dangerous game. Well, if we bring in JT Daniels, do we lose McCarthy? I think in all likelihood, if you brought in Daniels, you lose one of McCaffrey or Milton to transfer. And that might be the case regardless of whoever ends up losing that job might elect to leave on top of that. So for Michigan, that is a tricky balance to hold. But if you think you can get JT Daniels, the guy everyone thought he was coming out of high school, I think you have to at least explore and bring it in a different, less mobile quarterback than Dylan McCaffrey, for example. But I think that could be a decent fit for Michigan, given there was interest a couple of years ago. At number 2, the LSU Tigers. Now, Carter Bryant here at Chat Sports is convinced LSU is going to get JT Daniels, and it does make some sense, right? You have Miles Brennan and big old question marks behind him, at least as of right now. You'll lose Joe Burrow. You'll lose Joe Brady. You are searching for that next great LSU quarterback to replace Burrow. And I think Daniels would make some sense there. I don't fully trust the depth behind Myles Brennan at the moment. And frankly, to be quite honest, and I'm sorry, LSU fans, I don't trust Myles Brennan either. We'll see what he brings. Maybe Max Johnson is the long-term answer. Maybe it's TJ Finley. I don't really think it's Parrish. And you brought in a 4-star 2021 recruit in Garrett Nussmeier. Are those better options than JT Daniels right now? If Daniels were eligible and able to get that waiver, I think he could go to LSU and legitimately potentially start right away. I think that's why LSU is worthy of being what I consider kind of a top 2, a pretty clear top 2 in terms of the Daniels transfer destinations. Before we get to number 1, I want to know from you guys, who is your favorite college football team? We got a lot of LSU fans, a lot of Michigan fans I know that watch our shows. So if you want to rep your team, do it right now in the comments section. At number 1, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers. You have Jared Garantano, you have Brian Maher. Those guys aren't great. Frankly, Tennessee hasn't had great quarterback play since Joshua Dobbs. It's been a little while. Now, I think Garantano is the starter again next year, but if you were to land JT Daniels, isn't that an upgrade at the quarterback spot? And on top of that, Tennessee does have a potential easy connection there with T. Martin, charge of play calling for the Volunteers. Of course, he was the former USC OC. It makes some sense, right? You do have Kasim Hill as well, who transferred from Maryland. Freshman Harrison Bailey enrolled, and he is a top 100 recruit for 2020. There are some options for Tennessee, but as well as they've recruited for this upcoming class, they are still kind of rebuilding that talent base. Quarterback is the one area that I look and go, you know what, Tennessee? I don't know if you've got a guy or the guy right now. I think Daniels could be that for Tennessee. I think it's a natural fit with T. Martin also there. That's why they checked in at number 1 on my list.